Quantum Conversations, your portal to the inner realms. Access infinite possibilities, infinite mastery, and infinite love. Mind-expanding, heart-opening conversations with some of the greatest spiritual teachers, luminaries, and healers of today's world. Usher in new earth by living in your sacred heart. Quantum Conversations is brought to you by acoustichealth.com, home of music from the universe, online healing retreats, and this program. Claim your free registration to daily shows at acoustichealth.com. acoustichealth.com, your portal to the inner realms. Our program starts shortly. Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. And welcome. We are talking about returning to our prime state of being. And my guest today is a very interesting healer, a vibrational geneticist who channels light and sound to make shifts in your physical and energetic structure. Jeilene is here with us as a beautiful healer on Quantum Conversations and here to share her work with multi-dimensional beings. Let's welcome Jeilene Tracey. Hello, Jeilene. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, Loren, for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here. Been a long-time listener, and it's just an honor to be here with you and your audience. Thank you.
Oh, well, we are honored to have you. We are excited for today's session. It really is an experience to hear the work that you do, but your story is so fascinating. Indeed, you know your galactic heritage. And also what I love is that not only do you work with multidimensional beings, but you have a strong scientific background. And one day you went metaphysical, and now you are blending them both together. So that story is fascinating. Let's start with the work that you do with the group, the Council of Guides that you call the Mantis. Oh my gosh, this is a big story, so share that with us.
Okay, I'd love to. So the Mantis, to me, are like family. They've been with me my entire life. I didn't realize it actually until several years ago, but I know now in meditations the plants and the trees, and really allow that part of me to blossom and flourish. And it was that connection into the natural world that really sparked, along with my Mantis connections, really sparked my fascination with DNA. And it wasn't until I was a little older, till I was a later teenager and out of high school, that I had started taking some biology, more advanced biology classes in school, that I really started to understand that DNA was where my main interest lied in biology, that I was always interested in the cells, in the nitty-gritty, in the minute details. And so when I went to college, after traveling and having a lot of fun and teaching scuba for a while, which I just wasn't ready to go to school right away. That's where I was able to work in a lab, and the lab studied a parasite, or multiple parasites, and they were doing a genome project. So I got to learn how to work with DNA directly. I got to do a nice big honors thesis project where I had my own experience. I made my own gene library, and I just got a lot of really valuable experience there. So then I was able to parlay that and go into the biotech industry. So that's all happening sort of in my normal 3D life. And then under the periphery throughout my life, I always had an interest in the occult, but I didn't really know that. I think as a kid, you just don't realize it's anything unusual. But looking back, and now that I have kids, it was a little unusual at the age of 7 or 8. I would stay up late by myself watching creature features and night gallery, and dating myself there. But those kinds of shows, and I was just fascinated. I had a babysitter who I insisted told me every Twilight Zone episode that she could remember, and she would tell me. I was just kind of fascinated with that whole metaphysical world. And I continued to read, but then I would get distracted by others. I was really sort of bounced between the two. And I had some experiences as a child where I felt the veil reaching through, but not enough where I thought, oh, I'm a psychic kid, right? Because I think I was also so driven towards understanding science and DNA. And so that's what I pursued in college. And I also took quite a bit of courses on Buddhism and other things there. So I did a lot of meditation in college as well, which is probably maybe typical for people, that they start exploring that side of themselves too. And so then I went immediately into biotech, and I had a really nice career there working at all these really fun startup type companies in genomics. We were applying all these really cool genomics tools, changing the way people were doing science. It was a really fun time in the late 90s and the early 2000s in that industry, because there were so many new discoveries being made, and so much you felt that you could impact research and discovery, and even the way that drugs are made, right? Pharmaceuticals, because that was kind of before I had another opinion of the pharmaceutical companies. So all of that was happening, but then during that time, as I aged and I had my kids, I have 3 kids, beautiful kids, and at the time after I had my youngest daughter, is when it started, that whole thing started to unravel for me, where I started to feel like, this is around the time that I turned 40, I started to realize I was really disconnected in my relationships, and I realized I was disconnected, with both friends and family members, and that I just wasn't really present in my life. I was just going through the motions and living it. And that, I think, was something that was gnawing at me, that, I wasn't really participating on a deep level, deep emotional level, because I had shoved all that down as a kid because I was so empathic that it was painful for me. And, like many families, there was a lot of emotional tension. My parents got divorced when I was 2, and some other stuff happened, so that it wasn't all that easy at home. And so while I was having this beautiful natural experience, there was also a lot of emotional strife. And so I really learned to turn that dial down of feeling everything, because I was so sensitive. So that was kind of biting me later on in life. With kids, of course, you need to be completely emotionally present, and with a loving husband who really wanted me to be there. So I happened to have a chance encounter with a high school friend who I found out was a psychic medium. And I did a couple sessions with her, and she really just kind of brought me back, brought all that metaphysical interest I'd had back into focus. And I worked with her a couple of times. I started meditating again. She told me that I had a natural gift, which of course I didn't believe, because I was so far from that. And so I went to the library, and I got lots of books, and I started studying and reading and talking to people. And, when you open up that door, it's like they've been waiting on the other side of that door, and everything started flooding in. Mm-hmm. And so I started studying different modalities and things. I started with Reiki, as so many of us do, moved into theta healing. And then during that time when I was doing theta healing, I released a tremendous amount of fear and density through that process, which is really good at doing that. And I got to this point where I just couldn't do my job anymore the way I was in a really small company. It was a really nice, sweet company studying the microbiome, which I loved. But it was a sales job. And as far as sales in biotech goes, it was not a high pressure gig, but I couldn't even handle that. So, luckily my husband, was very sweet about it. And he's like, well, just stop working for a while and spend more time with kids. So I did that, and that opened that door for me to, start to read more and explore more and have time to myself where I could meditate and just hang out with my kids and just take everything down a notch, because I was working in San Francisco and I live in Santa Cruz. So I was commuting, and it was stressful in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And
with 3 kids. Yeah.
With 3 kids. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, it was pretty intense. So that was good to ratchet that all down and then open that door. And so I continued to take classes, and then I started working with someone here locally that teaches body talk. Her name's Laura Stuve, and she's Dr. Laura Stuve, and she's a PhD epigeneticist. And she helped remind me of all of that interest I'd had in science, because in the few years that I wasn't working, I went so far into the metaphysical, and all my interests were in the metaphysical that I'd stopped reading scientific papers, and I'd really kind of divorced myself from that whole side of my life, because I felt that it was very constrictive and restrictive, that I couldn't really be me inside that space, that I was expanding and I was becoming more in touch with my emotions. I was opening up to spirit. I was starting to channel and starting to get downloads of information. And I thought, I can't be in that other world that I used to be in. I don't belong there anymore. And then I met Laura, and I started taking these classes and remembering just how much I love epigenetics and DNA. And epigenetics, of course, are all the factors that control the expression of our DNA. It's why we can have the same exact DNA genetic code in every single cell, but you have a liver cell and a heart cell and a lung cell, right? And they all do completely different things. It's because we have these epigenetic factors. Epi means above, and they sit on top of the DNA, and they read the DNA and only express those genes or make products from the genes that are appropriate for that cell based on where that cell is. So it was fantastic to reunite with her, because she was from my biotech world, but she had left and become a body talk instructor. And so it kind of brought everything together for me. And it just really brought in everything for me, because it was during body talk that I connected with the mantis. Or I would say that they made themselves known to me, because I finally had released enough density. I had finally gotten myself into meditating regularly enough and helping others. This was the key, because when I was taking classes before, I was working on myself, but now I pivoted, and I started being in service to others. And as soon as I did that is when the magic happened for me with the mantis, and when they started showing up in my sessions, and particularly my main guide, who I call Murray. And I discovered her while doing sessions. I would always connect into the earth, and I started to see a room and then a table, and then I would see her standing at the head of the table with several other mantis around the table. And she was the largest one. It was the most prominent, you could say. Really high dimensional being, feels quite angelic to me. Very feminine energy, similar to Kuan Yin, similar to Mary Magdalene, with a little collie thrown in there, lots of fierce compassion, but tons of compassion. And she just started helping me with understanding what was really going on with people, always from that heart-centered space. But she would give me super detailed information about their DNA, about the epigenetic controllers, about where in the body things were going. And I kept trying to adhere to this protocol in body talk, and she kept saying, stop using that protocol. Stop using that protocol. I'm going to show you where to go. You just trust me. And it took me a while to trust, but I eventually did. And the benefits have been amazing. I started to hear these tones in my head, in my ears. And at first I didn't realize that I was supposed to use the tones with the people. And she started to explain to me that sound vibrates the DNA, which is, of course, made up of atoms, which are all vibrating. It vibrates it back into alignment. And that she would channel through me the proper or the correct tones for that particular condition, that she would identify the condition first, like a medical intuitive would. And then she would give me the succinct tones to use and apply. And sometimes they're layered, and sometimes it sounds like light language. It's totally different each time. It depends on the energy of the person I'm working with, but it's always very specific. And she is a very specific guide in that she gives me. And I realized all that training I did in DNA was because the mantis are DNA experts. So.
Yes. Oh my goodness, what a beautiful story. Talk about stepping into your gift and preparing it all along the way in your life. It's, when you look back at your whole life now, were they always with you? You'd have to think that they were always guiding you.
Yes, they were always with me. I've realized, I've looked back on some different things that happened to me throughout my life. I would say one of the main things that I really noticed is that I always felt like I was protected. As a child, our homes were kind of far apart, and I would walk in the dark to my neighbor's house, and I was never afraid to be alone in the dark. I would, be outside. I always felt safe outside, and I always felt like there was something that was going to protect me. And I did a lot of kind of stupid things, as a teenager. And, I was just very cavalier, I'd say, with my body, in that, like, I'd jump off a cliff into the ocean and things like that. And so I always felt, though, I'm going to be okay. I just knew it. I'm going to be okay. Oh, that's not going to happen to me. I'm going to be okay. It's as if I had that rolling through my head all the time. And sure enough, minor injuries, but I'm still here. I felt like, they were always watching out for me.
And so the healing modalities that you studied release the density from your body and the fear, because I would think that, there's still a fear. You're helping all of us understand the loving, compassionate nature of the mantis and the ancient beings. We've heard that they're the original guardians. There's that thread, there's that line. So it's an ancient being, but yet there's a fear that's programmed into all of us. Did you have that fear, or would you say that the healing work the modalities that you learned removed that first so that you wouldn't be in that fear state?
Well, I think they probably helped, but probably like a lot of people in your audience, I had heard that the mantis were sort of the masterminds behind the human cloning project. And so it made sense to me that they were DNA geneticists and experts in that field. And that made a lot of sense to me. They're very matter of fact. And when I first started connecting to them, I confronted them about that because I was like, this is kind of worrisome. Why are you my helpers? Why can't I have, like an angel or something? Something easier to present. But because they do have that controversial aspect to them. But what the group that I'm working with explained to me was that, yes, there are definitely mantis that are involved in human cloning, but human cloning from our perspective here, we have a perspective and we see the duality of it, and we get caught up in that third dimensional version of it. But the human form is used all throughout the universe, and you've probably heard that before as well, that it's something that is desirable because of the DNA, right? It's all about DNA. DNA is the code that is used over and over again all over the place to propagate life. And so you're right that they're very ancient. And what she explained to me is the group that I'm working with, they're all focused on the earth. So the part of the reason why I spent so much time outside in nature and with earth is because the mantis are so focused on earth, who is also an ancient being and whose very important evolution and progress is important to not just the mantis, but to many, many, many beings throughout our star system, because she sits, what they've explained to me, sits on this node that is very important of energy. It's like the fabric of our universe. She's a very influential node of energy in that fabric of the universe. And so they are really committed to her and to all of her expressions. And humans, of course, fall under that umbrella. And they assist her in her expression. So I talk a lot about the microbes, because the microbes are a big part of her expression, right? There's trillions of fungi, and there's viruses and bacteria, protozoa, amoeba, all of that, not the amoeba, sorry, but all the yeast, all of those microbes are part of our environment, and we're a really small part of it, even though it seems like there's a lot of us. But our bodies are even made up of microbes, right? They're like 60% microbe and only 35 to 40% human. So it's all part of this one system, and they really wanted me to understand that, and that they're here as part of that. So once I got my head wrapped around that, then I thought, okay, well, I can let go of the other aspect of you, because if you look at human beings, this is the other thing they said, look at, there's great human beings, and there's a lot of human beings that are doing a lot of awful things. And so different beings, just like them, it's not like en masse they're all going to be perfectly behaved, right?
Okay, so I love this. We're going to be able to experience a little sound session with you, and we're going to take some callers. But these beings, along with the Earth Logos, have offered you a new system. It's called the 5 movements. And this really aligns us again. And so explain what's going on here, because this is the work that you're bringing forward. And it is something that, you work with your sound, but we can use our own sound as well. So what is that about?
Well, first I'll give you a little bit of background on the Earth Logos. So when I connect with a mantis, they're at a certain vibratory field within the Earth. The Earth Logos feel even deeper within the Earth to me, like they are really close. They have more of a masculine energy to me. They vibrate lower. They're the deep tone, the deep song of the Earth. And connecting to the Earth Logos has been about bringing their message and their wisdom and guidance to humanity during this time of really intense transition. We're moving from one way of having perspective, I would say, one perspective to a completely new one. And so they're here to help us through that transition, because everything about us is changing. Our DNA and the way it vibrates is changing. The electromagnetic field that we're bathed in is changing. And we as dense physical beings are trying to keep up with those changes. But a lot of people are having issues adapting to those changes, right? We see lots and lots of more inflammation and problems with the nervous system, whether it's high stress or anxiety and depression. There's a lot going on energetically around us. And then, of course, there are all the toxins in our environment, the way that we have disregarded Earth and abused her and her plants and the animals, and instead been focused on the almighty dollar, right? And allowed corporations to really turn this beautiful country and many parts of the world into a toxic waste site. So that's happening, and the Earth Logos want to help us to evolve and adapt through this time of transition, because I do see that all changing, but human beings need to literally vibrate into a new mode and perspective and a new way of being. So the pathway to doing that is through the return to your prime state of being. The prime state of being is that magical moment when you come into form, and energetic form and physical form. And so that happens when the 2 eggs come together from both of your parents. And in that magical moment, there is your soul energy coming in. There's all the universal influences. Then there's the Earth and her intention, because everything that you are physically comes from her body. And so all of that together coalesces and sets down a blueprint of information that gets put into your DNA. And this is your story. This is your song, because your DNA is vibrating and singing a song. And in that magical prime moment is basically what I call your prime state of being. And we are pulled away from that, or we are led astray from that throughout our life. When we're exposed to different things, we have different emotional experiences that can be traumatic or painful. When we receive energies from outside ourselves that aren't beneficial, because there's lots and lots of stuff around. When we are connected into fear and anxiety and worry, all these things can help us feel, and that disconnected feeling that people always talk about. I feel so disconnected. I have so many people say that to me. How can I feel connected again? And so they offered these 5 movements, and when they're done with toning, they literally create a different energetic vibration through your DNA, shifting your DNA and all of those epigenetic controllers of your DNA so that your DNA is expressed from its original song. So that original vibration and song flows through you and out into the world around you, thereby changing the electromagnetic environment around you and changing you as well simultaneously. It's good for the earth. It's good for you. The 5 movements connect you to all of your cosmic relations and star families, the sun, the moon, as well as the earth and all of her beings that are in presence, taking care of, nurturing her energy and helping along her evolution. Balancing both of those in your body, it connects you then into your heart space, where we expand our presence here as fractal representations of Source. And through that expansion that is allowed because of our connection into the heart, balancing these energies of Earth and cosmos, we then are able to evolve, and we're able to continue our journey along our evolutionary path, or floating down that river, moving back towards the ultimate place of oneness with Source. And that's what the last movement is all about. It's all about offering yourself up into service to Source, or to all that is, with all that you are. So it's a dynamic set of movements. There's 5 movements. The word prime has 5 letters in it. The number 5 is really important. They've been bringing that up to me over the past year and a half, and I didn't know really what it meant. Sometimes when you see 555, you think, oh, big change is coming, and that's certainly the way I interpreted it. And I kept thinking like, oh no, is something going to happen to my family? But then I just kept seeing it and seeing it, and then the information started trickling in, and then the movements came in when I was in Sedona a couple of times, and then the whole thing coalesced over time. And then with this last transition that happened since December and into January, kind of culminating in that January 12th, it all just became really crystal clear to me, and I got more information about it, including what each movement is for and how to practice them and how it benefits your energy field and your DNA. And so it's been a really exciting new, almost a modality, I guess you could say, because they're supposed to be practiced daily, and they should be practiced with tones at the same time, and it really amplifies the whole vibration of it in your body. And I've been doing it daily, and every time I do it, I feel fantastic, and I feel lighter, and I feel brighter and more connected. And it's really done a lot for me. I really feel like I continue to let go of any density that I might have picked up throughout, the previous day. That I feel like I'm continuing to get even more and more information, intuitive information. I feel like my session work has even heightened, and I'm getting more succinct, and my tones are changing. I've been practicing tones with my clients for a couple of years now, but the texture, the sound is changing. It's getting more layered. It's just really exciting. So I'm super happy to be able to share these with everyone. And I'm really excited to hear how everyone who's practicing them experiences them and how it affects their life, because it just feels really big to me.
Wow, it does feel really big. This is like cosmic qigong with toning.
Totally,
Yeah.
exactly. That's a great way to explain it.
Channeled to you, given to you from your guides, and that whole story. And the special offer that you've got, we're going to get to that in a little while, but that is available. You've got videos on all of that, and you go deeply into what those movements are and how you do it so we can really begin to do it. So that's beautiful. I love that you're working with the Earth Logos. So let's go back to the messages that you're receiving, because I had one as well with the mantis, as you know, too, when they come in and they tell you exactly what's going on in someone's DNA. So here you're working with the mantis and the Earth Logos. They've got some messages for us in this timeline. Can you share some of those?
Absolutely. Yes. So the main thing that they've been coming in, and this happened a lot in December and January, they're really, really, really just constantly giving me this. They would wake me up, and they were pretty emphatic about it. And that is that we've got to start doing things differently. We need to start growing more of our own food. We need to stop relying on the food chain that we have been using. And I'm probably preaching to the choir here. There's probably a lot of people who are eating high vibrational, organic, small farm produced produce and meat when you're going to eat meat, or maybe not eating meat at all. But they were really specific about that our food chain is not only going to get worse, but they see it also food becoming a bit scarce at some point. I don't want to sound nihilistic, and I don't want to sound like, the sky is falling, but they were pretty clear with me, and they did give me a lot of these. So I just want to say that as a little caveat, disclaimer. They said that we really need to turn to the plants as medicine. The plants carry information and vibrations that work with us in many, many ways, not just at not the way a pharmaceutical works. The way it goes in is kind of like a big sledgehammer, right? And there's a lot of collateral damage. Plants don't work that way. They're far more gentle, and they're far more even in the way that they work with our energy field. And I've been so inspired by them. I'm becoming a certified herbologist now because of that. But they say rely on everything from the earth and bring in your remembrance to connect to the earth and show her gratitude and form that deep connection to earth. So spend more time in nature, vibrate and tone. So use the toning to vibrate your whole body and connect to the earth so that you are sending information and healing into her, and then she'll do the same for you. It's a reciprocal relationship. And make sure that you are doing everything you can, I think, to lessen stress in your life and anxiety, because there's a lot of codes of fear that are rolling and running through our electromagnetic airwaves. And so really taking the time to become present and recognize truth, your personal truth, from the truth that might be presented to you, questioning everything. Is this sitting well with me? Does this feel good? Does this light me up? Does this create healing and balance within my body? Or does it send me in the other direction? Anything that sends you into the direction of feeling like you are having the rug pulled out from underneath you, feeling like your energy field is being trampled upon, feeling like you're restricted, constricted, those are the things that you want to start gently releasing from your life. And you want to move into more expanded states, because what they've shown me is that we're on this long, long path of going from being very embodied to less embodied, to vibrating at a much higher rate in which we are not as physical as we are now. It's a long, long process. It takes a long time. It takes thousands of years for a race of beings to go from being physical to non-physical. But we are in that process. And as part of that process, we go through these times when things start changing and your nervous system is going to respond to your environment in a different way. And so we need to balance that. And so, yeah, letting go of those things that create that fear is super important.
Okay, well, you've said it there, and it sounds really wonderful too. So the vibrating and the toning, it's really fascinating because, sound healing has taught us that our voice, the human voice, is the greatest healer of all. Mm-hmm. So when we're toning, I think you and I were chatting before we began, and, in my young, immature mind, the first time I saw a group of people toning, I literally laughed and I thought it was the funniest thing. But now I've done it to animals and it wakes up a bird that I thought was gone. The bird totally got up and flew away. Mm-hmm. It's really amazing. And we can do it when we're called. The key is, as you've said, it's really being connected in the heart, and you're connected that you heard that tone and you had the courage to speak it. So we're going to hear you do a sound transmission for us, but let's talk first about you getting over, or not getting over, but enlisting the courage to be able to tone out loud.
Yes, that was tough. I don't have a background in singing, and, I can generally carry a tune, sort of, but it's not like I came from a family of singers. So when I first started hearing the tones, I didn't know if they were meant for me or for me to do them, but very quickly I realized that Mari wanted me to use these tones, and that was how I was going to shift the DNA. So I luckily was able to work with a group of people that had low expectations. And I think that's the key. If you're ever going to use toning as a healing modality, it's nice to work with a group of friends or someone that you feel really comfortable with. Because when I first started doing them, my vocal cords probably weren't as strong as they are now, and it was rougher, but it didn't really matter. It still worked. And that's the point. I want everyone to know that when you tone and you do the movements, it's not going to sound like the way I do it, and it should be unique to you. It's a reflection of your own energy field, the way the tones come out of your mouth. So remember that it's a unique expression of you, the way that you're vibrating and the way that energy is moving through you when you tone. You're literally like letting the universe open up and the earth sing through you, and you just let it go. You get into your heart space and you let it go. And every time I do a healing session, what I found gave me the courage to do it is as long as I got into a meditative state before I started, and I dropped down into my heart, and I got into my brain, which runs that reptilian fear program, and I just dropped into the heart. Then I knew, and I said, okay, Mari, you got this. I'm just going to witness. I'm going to be the witness and the participant, and I'm going to allow you to just flow your healing tones through me. And when I gave it up, and I surrendered, then it all just seemed to come out just fine, and they sounded better.
Isn't that interesting? You said a key word, surrender.
Yes.
When we surrender to this gift, when you surrender and you get out of the head. I love that. Okay. So we are looking forward to experiencing this. Can you do a process for all of us to really get us back into that prime state of being?
Oh, I'd love to. Would you like me to do that now?
Oh, that would be great.
Okay.
Love it. Love it.
Yes, this will be fun. Okay, so wherever you are, everybody, if you just get yourself into a relaxed position and start taking some nice deep breaths. We breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. This relaxes the body and connects us through the breath to ourselves as both energy and physical beings. With each breath, we feel our energy coming into the body and settling in comfortably, knowing this is a safe space to be in. Start to imagine roots flowing downward from your body, down into the earth below you. No matter how far they have to travel, they find their way down to the earth. When they meet the soil, they happily start spreading out and moving downwards through her many, many layers. There's soil and rock, water, crystals. There's beautiful layers of sediment, all kinds of life. The roots flow through all of this easily and make their way down to the center of the earth, her energetic core, where her crystalline structure and portal into universal energies lie. And your roots anchor themselves at her core and connect you deeply to her energy. And we send immense gratitude to this beautiful ancient being who we call Earth, and for her continued existence here. And she responds by flowing beautiful golden light up through those roots. And it flows swiftly and happily back up towards your body through all those layers. As you inhale, it rises even more swiftly towards you. As it reaches your body, you invite this light in, and it begins to merge and flow with all of your tissues, all of your cells, your blood, your bones, muscles. Moves its way up through your feet, your legs, up through your waist and belly, and your chest, up into your shoulders, down through your arms, up through your neck and into your head, till your whole body is vibrating in accord, in unison with Earth. This alone brings you back into a state of harmony and healing. As the Earth is always providing you this beautiful energy. And sometimes we just need to connect to her more literally in order to feel that energy flowing through us. And this is more easily felt when we journey into the space of our heart, into the very core of our heart chakra, the still point where our soul comes into connection with our physical being. There's a beautiful portal here, an opening, the aperture of which we open through our awareness of the space in the center of our heart. Through the opening of this aperture, we allow the energy to flow through from our higher self, our oversoul and source itself. And as it flows through us, it begins to make that beautiful merging of energy from our soul's guidance through us and to merge with the energy from Earth. And simultaneously, our crown chakra opens to allow our cosmic family energy, our lineage from our star families, to flow through our bodies from above. And with the tones that come now, we will be merging and aligning all of these energies perfectly in your body so that your entire energetic and physical being comes back into balance and complete harmony with all these aspects of who and what you are. Please take a few nice deep breaths. Let all that energy expand through your system. Good.
Wow. We heard ancient voice and beautiful. Probably that was the Earth Logos. I don't know. There's no need to describe it, but it was beautiful. I hope everyone is feeling that in their own way. It would be lovely to have you share at certain times with the different voices. It was like layers coming off.
Mm-hmm.
I felt layers around my hands. That was interesting. And it really seemed as if Mari was right there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. She's always there. She's always the one that is opening the doorway, creating a protective space for the energy to flow through, making sure that nothing enters that shouldn't. One thing about the mantis is they're very capable of protection, and so that is definitely true, that this flow of energy that comes through is under that protective umbrella, and that there are many beings present when the tones come through. And so while she sort of brokers the space, there are definitely I have an alliance with the Arcturians, with the Divinians, which is another group of beings, and with other star family members, as well as the Earth Logos. Absolutely. You can feel their deep vibration coming up from the ground, from the earth, and many other beings that are here present in the earth as well. I always feel like it's a collective that brings forward the information.
Beautiful. An earthly and cosmic collection. And what's very interesting is this technique that you had us anchor into so deeply into Gaia, to really merge with her energy. Mm-hmm. And then also through the cosmos, this really fortifies us. This is something that we can do to really be responsible with our energy. And when we do so, it releases fears. There's fears out there right now. We can feel it in the collective. I think we all can. The mainstream media is really doing good things to fuel that. Mm-hmm. When we come into this state, this is really the key. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of the big benefits of doing toning, I think, it just really brings you into the present moment. And in the present moment, there is no fear because we're not worried about the past. We're not worried about the future. You know, the fretting goes away. We just focus on this moment right here, right now. And toning brings your energy body back into your physical body. Through that vibration, it just connects you, just like funk, you know, it just brings you right back into that present moment. And I think that that is what really helps to peel away those patterns of going into the brain and that whole biochemical pathway of anxiety and fear that we have frankly, a lot of neurological pathways have been settled into our brain and repetition throughout our lifetimes. And so they tend to be the dominant pathways in our neurobiology. And so doing these movements and using the tones actually helps to rewire some of those dominant patterns and create a new pattern. So every time you're toning or connecting to Earth, every time you're choosing yourself first and you're letting go of all of the noise out there, you are rewiring your brain into a new pattern. You're letting your heart be the boss and be your guide. And you're getting out of that space of the past and the future, and you're just settling in the only thing that we actually have, which is right here and right now.
I love that. Toning and the power of toning. Really a great instant way to be centered and in the heart and shifting your energy body back into the body. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Okay. So that really explains toning. I know some would say, I've even spoken with singers, classical singers who are afraid to even begin toning. But I love what you said, Jeilene. We can't get it wrong. There's no right or wrong tone. It's simply a reflection of our own energy field. And so we're going to take some callers so that you can work with individuals. Callers, if you're on the phone, *2 will get you your hand raised so that you can ask Jeilene a question. But I want to talk more about, you've got your special offer that teaches people how to tone, how to use these 5 movements and really come back to this prime state of being. So talk a little bit about what's in that offer. There's 2 options.
Yeah, thanks. I've created some videos explaining more information about what each movement or pose is all about, and demonstrating how to do them and how to do it with tones, as well as a little bonus item that actually isn't even listed online is a PDF that actually has cartoon drawings of a person doing them. So it's easy to print out if you forget, how am I supposed to have my hands in this one? You can take it with you, and it's got a whole diagram with definitions and things. And then I've also created a specific meditation and tones to reconnect you to your prime state of being, similar to what we did today, but different. And so that meditation is also available and part of it. And there's 2, like you said, 2 different versions. You also get in version 1, actually a couple more things. You get a subscription to my Light Vibes Learning Community, which is a really fantastic group of people that come together and explore different metaphysical topics. And so each month the guides bring forth a new topic. And so I offer videos and channeled written information and channeled videos and meditations and tones and lots of supplemental information. I'm constantly reading scientific literature and other information about how to maximize your health and what you need to be doing right now. And so I put all that into this Light Vibes Learning Community. There's almost a year of information in there already that you have access to. So it's just treasure trove of health and wellness. And then lastly, I'm going to do a live Q&A webcast so you can connect with me directly and ask your questions and get some guidance if you need it, if you're having a little trouble with the toning, or if you have a question about the movements. It's also an opportunity for us to share our experiences about what's happening and ask what that means. So I wanted to offer that because this set of movements and tones that I'm providing you guys is a little different from what I typically do. And I wanted to make sure I gave everyone support in that process. And then package B also includes a 45-minute session with me, which is a way to work with me directly and have your body and energy fields, emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, whatever it is that is got you concerned, having my guides and I do a whole medical intuitive exam of you and give you very specific information about your DNA, epigenetic controllers, your nervous system, your digestion, your immunity. I really specialize on digestion, immunity, and nervous system. So those are areas that we can explore and help you to start to get better and start to come up with different ways of eating and taking care of yourself and living that's more in alignment with you getting healthy again.
That's very cool. And of course, Mari, your high-level guide, is working with you, giving you direct information about what's going on in the body that you're scanning. And you can see all of it. It's really quite fascinating. And your scientific background, I can see how that blends so well with this work that you're doing. Absolutely.
Definitely.
And so when you were talking about your live call that you're doing, is that going to be just on a webinar or will it be video like on Zoom or something?
Yeah, it's going to be Zoom. So everybody gets to see each other and we get to chat face to face.
Yeah, you get to see the movements too if you want. It's almost like an aerobics class right there with your
five
movements. Yeah.
I would love that. That's a great idea, actually. I could do a morning movement class for everybody. And
like part of your membership could just be join us every Monday morning and get tuned in and do your toning. I would join that. That would be great.
Heck yeah, cool. That's a great idea, Loren. Thank you.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it. I know we need to this is a year of collaboration. We're going to see it in new ways. So it's really exciting because it's really game on. Everyone listening to this knows exactly what we're talking about. And we're really stepping up into all of our gifts, standing forward, no longer segmenting our gifts like you were saying earlier, Jeilene, forgetting about your science part. No, that's all part of it. And that's what we're stepping into. And that's really the beauty and what we're all working towards. And that's what this show and your work and everything that we do supports. It really is this new earth and a new way of doing it and a new way of living. So we thank everyone for that and for your contribution as well. Jailene's special offer is available. Please check that out. You get all of those items that she mentioned, and there's an option to include a special offer. So let's go to our audience now, Jeilene.
Okay.
Christine on our web call. Christine, hello, welcome. Do we have you, Christine? You're unmuted on our system, but your personal mic might be... Keep talking. I thought I heard something there. I'm going to keep that open for you, Christine, in case we hear you. Coming up next, let's go to West Palm Beach, area code 561.
Yes, this is Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, hello.
I'm so enjoying this.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
Especially the toning is exciting for me. I'm 86, so I'm wondering if the 5 movements are something that I could do.
Absolutely, Elizabeth, and they would help you with youthing and vitality as well, because when we start to open up these new pathways and increase neuroplasticity in our brain, that's how we continue to stay young, because our brain has these sort of false signals of aging that we can start to reverse. And that's one of my goals. I'm really interested in the way that we age and aging gracefully. And so I just love that you called. Thank you. The movements are pretty easy. Arms up, arms sort of mid position, arms down, arms at the heart, arms at your waist. So they're not something that is really physically strenuous. And they don't need to be. And you can do them as fast or as slow as you want. You can take pauses or you can flow through them like flow yoga. But you're standing hip width apart the whole time, and so they're pretty easy to do.
Okay, well, I can't at this moment raise my arms up over my head, but that doesn't mean that I can't in the future.
Right, or that you couldn't maybe put your hands up towards the sky, and if your intention is to get your arms up there, maybe with doing, as much as you can do, you'll get your arms up a little bit over time.
Yes, I intend to.
Good.
Because I want to be around for a long time.
Absolutely.
To see this change.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time. Did you have any other questions about anything that's going on in your body?
Yes. If I didn't have pain everywhere, I would be ecstatic. Can you see anything? Well, it's like arthritis.
Pain. I actually see, Elizabeth, that so the first prominent thing that comes forward like a beacon is that you've been over your life exposed to some toxic chemicals, and that those are causing some inflammation in your nervous system, which is, connected to, and our endocannabinoid system is part of that. And that is where you have a really high upregulation of something called neurokinin A, which is basically telling your body, it's giving it lots of indications of pain and not enough indications of calm and peace and bliss. If you think about sort of weights of a scale, it's like it's much higher on the pain side than it is on the peace and comfort and joy side. So
you're right.
Yeah. We had more time together. What I'd like to do, Elizabeth, is give you, we would make some epigenetic shifts, first of all, to the expression of this neurokinin A. And then what we want to do, though, is we want to upregulate your expression of things like anandamide, which is the bliss hormone, GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid, as well as there's another endocannabinoid that is coming up for you, serotonin. So those things, and I don't know if that's classified as an endocannabinoid, but it's part of that system. And so here's what you can do, though, since we're not in the middle of a deep session. You can do things that naturally increase the expression of those things. First of all, make sure that you're eating a tremendous amount of fiber. So however much fiber you're eating right now, double it, because your microbes produce most of your serotonin and most of your GABA. There's a little bit produced in the brain, but they are the powerhouse in the gut that's producing most of those things. So make sure you're getting lots of fiber and you're eating the rainbow of fibers, the rainbow of vegetables that provide those fibers. But again, fiber is super important. So lowering inflammation in the body starts with the gut. It starts with taking care of those microbes.
Yes. All right. I'll sign up for your Part B. And I thank you for that information. That's twice I've heard it in 1 week. And
there you go.
And because I don't eat very much, I can make those changes, and I appreciate that information. And I'll be talking to you in a personal.
I love it. I can't wait, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for listening and connecting in.
Wow.
Love this.
Great, Elizabeth. I mean, what confirmation hearing that twice in a week. Yeah.
But the other was a medical doctor. I was going to see if she would be my primary, and after listening to her, I know that I can't go there.
No, I was about to say, nope, you're not going there.
But I did hear about fiber, and so now I can do that. Thank you.
Absolutely. And you can find somebody who straddles, more of the naturopathic, because doctors are really good at treating acute conditions, but if we want to look at our whole body and our whole system, it's really beneficial to also simultaneously work with a naturopath who is going to look at all of your hormone panels and your inflammation and all the different things in your body that are more indicative of what's actually going on, and then start to recommend some really natural ways of you to bring things back into balance.
And I do think that we're going to have to be our own doctors in the process too.
Well, that's for sure.
Somewhat. When you're involved with Medicare and others, and also have your meals provided for you, it's harder.
Tough, yeah. Well, you do what you can until we see each other. Yeah, do what you can and try the movements and just do them the best you can. And with your intention set with doing them completely, you will get there, and you'll also just experience the energy moving through you. No problem. I have full confidence.
All right. I don't expect that. I'm going to do it with grace and ease. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks.
Okay. And, there's just good things coming out. Companies, more conscious companies that bring the healthy foods into our lives. And that's promising too. Okay. I wanted to ask there, one of the great things that people are into is like juice cleansing. So when you're talking about fiber, that is a good reminder that we do need the fiber as well. I mean, the juicing is powerful and potent. Do you have any comments on that?
Yes, I do. Thanks for bringing that up. I love juicing also because sometimes it is so clean and pure, and you get so much of that energy of the plant. I really like it because the fiber is a little denser, but we just have to make sure also that we're getting enough fiber, because I know my body functions so much better, like top to bottom, my energy levels and everything, when everything is moving through at a good clip. It just bring in the phytonutrients as juice, but also bring in all of their super helpful fiber. And it's okay, by the way, to also eat whole grains as long as they have been produced on a small farm without glyphosate, and they haven't come anywhere near glyphosate in water, and that they are obviously organic, and that you don't eat tons of them, but you eat small amounts, because there are components in whole grains that a lot of diets really shun them, and they say you shouldn't eat any of that, like maybe the ketogenic or the paleo diet. We are omnivores. We're balanced human beings, right? We evolved on this planet eating a whole bunch of different stuff and little bits of little stuff. And of course, wherever you live geographically, you ate more of some things than others, right? But it's important to think, like, where are my ancestors, my physical ancestors from? And what diet worked well for them? Because that's going to be a clue to you what things are good for you. And then all these fads that come out, there's just so many of them. It's like, what are you supposed to do, right? It's like one tells you one thing, another tells you another. So always look for really high-level science behind the claims. And I think that's important. But I also think it's important to take everything with a grain of salt. And does it really work for your body? Because I tried paleo one time, and boy, that was not right for me. That didn't make me feel better. It actually sent my gut in the totally wrong direction. So just because it works for 10,000 people does not mean it's going to work for you. And that's not like you're doing something wrong. It's not your fault. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just that it doesn't work with your constitution, with your DNA, with your genetic history. So just really try and find your own balance and what works for you.
Very good. Yes, well said. And to listen to the body. Yes, beautiful. Jeilene is taking callers. If you're on the phone and you'd like to ask a question, *2, we will unmute you and you will be connected directly with Jeilene. I have a comment coming in, a question. This is Elizabeth in Orlando. I believe it's a different Elizabeth.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, in light of healing and coming into true being with Source, where all is whole, all is possible, how would this apply and work for restoring a missing tooth or a tooth with a cavity? I feel that this is possible and holds an opening for greater healing and restoration to wholeness and truth.
That's a great question. So Elizabeth from Orlando, what I would remind you is that in part of the conversation I was talking about the microbiome, the bacteria that are part of your body, and really interesting or fascinating to me is that every single tooth in our mouth has a different ecosystem of microbes on it. So each tooth is unique. So it's like its own little space and ecosystem. So with that said, there is some microbial imbalance, you could say, on that particular tooth where you have a cavity where some of the microbes that eat away the dentin and the enamel have surged in population, and some of the ones that keep the peace and keep things clean and without disruption are probably in a lower population now. So the key is, how can we restore the balance to that tooth? And because the microbes and the plants are so connected, I typically look to plants to assist in that. So with the first thing that came in that Mari brought in was to do a mouthwash with a type of plant that would be healing. So and also one thing that is also beneficial and can bring a population down is even just doing a warm saltwater rinse in your mouth. That tends to help quite a bit. But then there's a specific plant that they want to bring in. So let me look at that a little better. So it's the kind of plant that has that antimicrobial property. So the first thing that comes to mind is usnea. And usnea is a type of lichen, and I just want to make sure it is safe. So they tincture usnea. I've made the tincture of usnea before. Usnea is also called old man's beard. It's that lichen, that light green lichen that hangs from oak trees and fir trees, and it's a beautiful plant. And what that lichen is doing is it's conferring protection from fungus and microbes to the trees that it lives upon. So it's got a commensal relationship with them. It's also a commensal for us and is very useful in preventing infections. And so there's plants like usnea that are very powerful. Calendula is another one. So you can make or get a couple of tinctures from your health food store, unless you want to go out and make them yourself. I don't know. Yeah, there is usnea down there. Usnea is all across our country. But sometimes it's a little tricky to tincture because it's got two different parts to it. Anyway, it's something you can also find in the health food store, and you could get the tincture of it and put it into some nice warm water. That, and they're showing me another one called alcornia, and another one, the other one I mentioned was calendula. I just want to make sure that one, you'd want to put a very small amount of that one, and that one is more topical versus, so you might just put a little bit on the outside of your tooth of the calendula, but the other two you would put into some warm water and you would drink and swish around in your mouth, and you can spit them back out, especially if you don't like the flavor. So get the help of the plants, and that will help quite a bit. And if it's a small infection, you can stop it in its tracks enough, and then if it continues to need a filling later, you'll I think you'll be able to reverse what's going on there. It feels like it's ready to receive that help from the plants.
Oh, that's so cool. All right, the plants, yes, are nature.
Yeah,
the
they're here to help.
Yeah, they're here to help, and the indigenous knew this. Mm-hmm. Indigenous knew this and remind us of this. And it's beautiful. It is a renaissance with the plants. Okay, we're going to go to a caller. Let's go to Phoenix, Arizona, area code 602. Hi, what's your name, please? Caller. Oh, say that again. I couldn't hear you. Ruba.
Luba.
Luba. Hi, Luba. How can we help you today?
How are you, Lori?
Great.
I live now in Santa Fe. I used to live in Phoenix. Anyway,
Okay.
I would like to know, I'm senior, of course, and like most of us have a problem with the constipation, and I don't know much about my ancestors except my parents. My parents grew up in southwest of Poland, and I grew up northwest of Poland. Anyway, what's the best fiber for me?
Good question. Okay, so it's not just fiber for you, Luba. Are you able to take some walks? Are you up and around and mobile?
Oh, yes, I am for about most of well, I kind of stopped a little bit, not so much. I don't walk so much anymore, but I used to go for hiking, like whole day hikings in the mountains in Santa Fe. So I am, and I do go to the gym for stretching. So.
Okay, wonderful. So your body is used to you doing those long hikes, and it's missing them. So whatever is in alignment with your body, slowly get back into doing more hiking. Your body wants some of that movement back. It's not moving as much as it used to, and it would like to get some of that.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I would like to get some of that back. And so that's part of it, because when we move and exercise, it's one of the best ways to diversify and to heal the microbiome, because there's lots of things that get released when we exercise, but endorphins, and anandamide is an endorphin. And when the microbiome gets all these signals of happiness and bliss, it's like, yeah, all the good guys just burst in their population.
I remember.
And the not so helpful ones seem to diminish in their behavior. So it's really great. So take those walks. And the other thing that I'd say is it's really important for you to eat small amounts of a variety of different fibers. So we think about fibers, or we think about prebiotic things versus probiotic. There's nothing probiotic that you need, but some prebiotic fiber would be good. And so there's something called inulin, and it's found in different fruits and vegetables. So they're showing me yams or red potatoes, and that would be good. Good, that would be good for you. They're showing me that in your, let's see, there's nothing fruit-wise other than you could do with eating for a week. Have you ever heard of the food called kitchery?
Yes, I do. I had today for my dinner.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's perfect. If you ate kitchery more often, and you had a couple of days where all you ate was kitchery, and you don't eat...
Oh, I don't know if I can sustain that. I really kind of, if I don't have enough protein, I feel dizzy, and I don't do well with sugar, so I have to have a good protein. So, like, most of the time I'm trying.
I was going to say, I generally put for a healing broth to help heal the intestinal lining, I would add the kitchery with all those wonderful healing herbs and spices. Make sure you cook the rice with ginger and garlic. And
yes,
then,
I do.
Okay, good. And then add that to bone broth, so you get protein.
Yes, I make my own chicken bone broth.
Perfect. Well, then that's a really perfect food for you right there. And you don't have to eat it, let's say, all day. But if you eat primarily that, and then you also have some, and of course use brown rice, not white rice. But then if you also add in some, so they keep showing me prunes. Prunes would also be helpful to you, and you don't have to eat a lot of them. Yeah, try some of those. Not a lot of them. They're showing me just a small handful of them. Prunes would help you move, as well as the kitchery, and there's another thing they're showing me. Oats, not so much. No.
Oh, not,
Oats
okay, maybe
are almost like mucilaginous, and they're actually stopping you up.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and they convert
that
really
makes
quickly.
sense.
They're converting quickly to sugar in your body, and they're disrupting your glucose levels. So that's why you're bonking later.
Yes. Oh, that's why if I have on the morning, I feel if I don't have protein with this, I have like almost nausea and lightheaded. Okay.
Yeah. That's the having the empty stuff in the morning. That it's not that you need protein. Actually, you need something that's going to balance your. So you need more healthy greens in the morning. You need to eat dinner for breakfast. You need to think about not eating breakfast foods for breakfast, but if you're going to eat breakfast, and eventually you won't need to eat as early if you start eating dinner for breakfast. So think about like chard and sauteed greens and things like that. So that's the kind of food you want to eat.
Use them for breakfast too. Yeah, with the eggs.
Yeah, with some eggs, or eggs can be a little inflammatory depending on your inflammation, but I think that should be okay for you as long as you don't do it every day. But I mean the eggs, but do the veggies for sure. And you can add some tofu in, or you can add some other sources of protein.
I don't do well with tofu with soy. So
with soy products. Yeah, that might be a little bit connected to some of the dysbiosis in your gut though, and your blood sugar regulation. So that might even out later. You could try a little bit of it later on and see if it helps actually get things balanced again.
Okay. So what's the best grain for me? Because I grew up on the bread, so if I do eat, I don't eat that much anymore. But if I do, what kind of grains would be the best?
Well, let's see. There's that one called amaranth, right? Amaranth.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you talking about which grain should you use to make bread?
I don't make bread, but instead of instead of like having a bread, so like so that
well you can
kind of grains, the grains I'm talking about.
Yeah. So amaranth comes up as being okay. That's not a grain. Oh, by the way, make sure you put mung beans in your
yes, I do use
good.
Azuki beans. Okay, you're right.
Azuki, but mung is better for you, I think.
And mung bean, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So the other grain for you, amaranth or buckwheat?
Buckwheat. Okay, I love buckwheat. Okay,
good.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Is anything else showing? Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Luba. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks, Luba.
Thank you. I do listen to your show almost every day, and I appreciate your work. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for your light. Thanks for calling. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Namaste.
Beautiful. Thank you. Wow, she is a psychic. Jeilene is a intuitive psychic. And hearing your guides as well, bringing forward the information with your scientific background. So we're almost out of time, but we've got two hands and I want to get to them. So here's one quick question. We're going to go to Gracemont, Oklahoma, area code 405. Hi, you're unmuted. What's your name, please?
Hello, my name's Gail.
Hi, Gail.
Hi.
You have a question for Jeilene.
I sure do.
Hi, Gail.
Hi, Jeilene. I was wondering, I've got about the tones, actually, and toning. And I've got a rather deep voice, and I know I'd have a lot of difficulty trying to get in the range of where you were toning. So my actual question is it okay to tone in a lower range that harmonizes with whatever those tones might be?
Oh, for sure. My husband also has a really deep voice, and and it's awesome. I love it. And I love the low tones. They're so earthy based, and they just vibrate through your whole body. it doesn't really matter so much what they sound like, but I know in sound healing we think of different pitch and frequency and all that. You'll probably be surprised though, as you start toning, that they'll be in the low register, but then you'll probably start drifting up a bit as you start to practice with it. And you'll probably surprise yourself. You'll probably start to move into different places and octaves, because I know that happened for me, that as I did it, I started to travel up and down the range in ways that I hadn't done before.
Yeah, and I already have sort of started moving into different areas and as well overtones. Some overtones are coming through that some of them are absolutely divine in their effects.
Yeah, well, they're all divine because you're divine.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. I hear you.
It's beautiful.
I have one other question, and that is, you might be able to help me here, but I have had for quite some time and still do ringing high tones in my ears. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if you can say anything about that.
You know, more than tinnitus, it feels to me that you're really connecting with different beings that are trying to communicate with you, and that as you start to communicate, well, maybe you're already in communication with them consciously, but I feel that as you start to answer their call, that will diminish the ringing in your ears that can be a little bit troublesome sometimes, will diminish, and it'll balance out through your whole energy field, that it's sort of concentrated up in your crown and pineal chakras, you know, your third eye right now, and that as you start to anchor into earth, you'll start to balance that energy just like a tree does with the phloem and the xylem. We want the energy flowing in and flowing up from below, and then merging and spreading throughout the body in a really balanced way. So continue to connect into earth and allow those energies to balance through your body. And I feel like that'll just bring things into a better rhythmic flow through your physical being.
Oh yeah, that sounds good. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate the particular area that you've moved into with the combination of movements and sound. I just think it's rich.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Dale.
Okay.
Thanks,
bye now.
Dale. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, it is going to be cool. I see you doing a class. I see that at group fitness. Wouldn't that be cool? I taught group fitness for 25 years, and I just think that would be so cool. It's the newest yoga. Dream
absolutely.
big, girl. Dream big. Okay, one more. We have one more caller, and this looks, we're going to New York City, area code 212. Hi, you're unmuted. What's your name?
Hi, this is Winifred.
Winifred,
I'm in
hello.
New York City, yes, on the 17th floor in a building far from nature.
Cool. Hi, Winifred.
Hi, Jeilene. I have a question for you. I had visits from praying mantis in my apartment, and
wonderful.
I have a feeling that there's a connection there because I'm a healer and intuitive myself, and I had a session with a healer, and the praying mantises came in. So I'm just asking if that's true.
Absolutely. So are you seeing the insects as well in your apartment?
The insects came into my apartment on the 17th floor, sort of strange.
That is so fantastic. I love that. So I've had many clients of mine tell me and send me photos the very next day or the same day that I've worked with them of a praying mantis, on their windshield, in their house, in their backyard, somewhere around them. So they make themselves known. It's like a calling card. It's like their way, even though the insects are, different from the beings we're working with that are mantid, and, they're like the praying mantis, but that's the way we see them. They're not exactly like that. But the point is those are their little mascots or their ambassadors. And so that's their calling card. Yes. And I would say also, Winifred, that it means that you have a deeper connection with them, that they are here to support you. They like your energy. Oh, they really like your energy. They like your vibration. Your whole apartment feels good to them. The way it vibrates, the energy that you've done, the way you've cleared it, the space, the way you have your furniture aligned. They like hanging out with you. They're drawn to you. That even though you're on the 17th floor, it doesn't matter. You've got that beautiful vibration of earth energy, and you are a non-judgmental person. You're really heart-centered. I just feel, I like your energy. I'm digging your energy right now, and I think they do too. I can feel that Mari's given me that, like, she gives me this feeling in the center of my chest where my whole chest warms up, and that's what I'm feeling right now. And that's you, Winifred. That's your beautiful spirit, and how you've come to be in service and to work with others, and also just vibrate in alignment with your truth. And as you do that, you help to change the electromagnetic environment around you. And if that's all you did, that would be fine, because you're having effects on your whole floor, your whole 17th floor.
Thank you. Now, I have another question, and I'm 85, believe it or not, but I don't feel like that. And I have problems with my eyes. I have cataracts. So I'm just wondering if there is some way that I can take care of that without having to do it, the medical way.
Yeah. So there's some promising data showing that vision gets restored, or not completely restored, but is helped through the use of a supplement called NMN, which is, nicotinamide mononucleotide. And you can find it on the market. It's a precursor to NAD+, which is basically the little engine chugger in our cells that helps transport ATP between cells. It's found in every cell. It's all over the body. It's one of those things that we need, but we lose as we age. And so it would be beneficial for you to use some of that supplement. And so this is not a plant-derived thing, although you can find the precursors to NAD and things like broccoli and cabbage, but you just have to eat a ton of it. It's for you, given your age and eyesight. I mean, really, we should all be taking NMN if it doesn't conflict with other things going on in your body and you're not allergic or whatever. But getting more of those precursors to NAD+ in the body is really important, and is a really wonderful way to age gracefully and to keep our vitality. So it helps with those neural connections, and it helps with the angiogenesis in the eye, right? We want those nice, strong, healthy capillaries in the eye, and so there's some promising data showing that that's helpful there.
Wonderful. And I hope to be in touch with you, because I used to tone myself. I used to do
good. Well, that makes sense. Being in alignment with the mantis.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Jeilene.
Welcome. You're so welcome. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Winifred. Keep toning.
Thank you.
Yes, keep toning. And talking to those mantis beings. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, this has been a beautiful quantum conversation with Jeilene Tracey, as she is a vibrational geneticist, and her special offer allows you too to learn this method that she has brought forth and channeled in partnership with the multi-dimensional beings that she works with. That special offer is available on this webpage, and we also have a short link, a quick link. It is bit.ly/Jeilene offer. And Jailene's name is spelled Jeilene. Jeilene offer. Thank you so much, Jeilene. This is beautiful. This has been a beautiful experience as well. We will have you back, as this is your mission that you're fully on board with, and we thank you for that. As we wrap up our call today, any message that you'd like to leave us with?
Yes. First, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me here. I've loved connecting with you and your audience. The energy is fantastic, and that always makes everything flow so much more beautifully. And so I thank you and have gratitude for you for creating this platform and this space for us to share all of this together. It's wonderful. And what I'd like you each to know is that you are these amazing collaborations between your soul's energy and earth and source, and that your path and that your experience here on earth can be anything you want to make it. And you can have health and vitality while you do it. And there's lots of ways to help that happen. And we have this beautiful, bountiful earth that we can connect to, and we can receive wisdom and guidance from the trees and the plants and the animals to help us to thrive and come into balance here. And that is really what we all have access to. It's not something for the few, it's for all of us.
Hallelujah. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jeilene, Tracey. This has been beautiful.
My pleasure. Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of this new Earth community. Thank you, too, for holding your vision of new Earth. And now it is time to dance our way to the cosmic heart. This is going to get a little salsa-like. Enjoy. Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.